We've got a question here from our guy, Pistons Turkey. Camille says, let me just bring it up. How would you use Scoot, Cade, and Ivy in a scenario where we select Scoot? Do you play with all three together, or does one come off the bench? Blake, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I feel like I haven't really thought about that much. I feel like my thought process has been if the Pistons get the second pick and Scoot's the guy, I was I'm just thinking draft Scoot and figure it out, whether that means starting Cade and Ivy, bringing Scoot off the bench for the first 20 games, first half of his rookie season, whatever it might be. I mean, I think where the team is right now, you definitely want to try to see all three on the floor together just to give them some minutes, see what that looks like, if it's going to work. So immediately, I think I would try a bunch of different combinations: Cade Scoot, Cade Ivy, Ivy Scoot, and see how it works and see if one guy is bringing just some energy to the second unit where that's a better role. So yeah, I think it would be a lot of trial and error if
Yeah.
Scoot ends up in Detroit.
So I have done a lot more thinking on this than I'd like to admit for the Pistons, still not knowing where they're going to draft. And the answer is both exciting and a little concerning at the same time, at least from my perspective. So I think on offense, it would be incredibly fun. I mean, you'd look at teams like Miami, you'd look at teams like OKC with how they handled multiple ball handlers. I mean, you the Miami Heat have Jimmy Butler routinely setting screens high so that he could start operating in the short roll, and he's killer in that, right? He's ridiculous. And then you look at OKC with SGA, Giddy, Williams, all three of these guys together. Their coaches are creative enough to make it work, and you can get all of the ball handlers initiating at the same time. So offensively, if you trot out those three guys together, I think it would be a heck of a lot of fun to watch. Defensively, I am very afraid of Cade guarding wings. I can't really quantify that because I know he's bigger, but I worry that you're taking away some of the advantage he has. He's not necessarily a plus defender at the guard spot right now, but he does use his length really well, and he's taller than a lot of the guys he's guarding. He's a really high IQ player, right? You put him on a taller wing, that little advantage that he's leveraged quite a bit over his first 2 years, it goes away. So that's why I say it's concerning and it's exciting because on offense, I feel like you could trot out, Cade, Scoot, Ivy, Bojan, and Duran, and you'd be putting up numbers on offense. It'd flow. It'd be incredible to watch. But if Cade can't hold up on the wing and you can't have, I mean, Scoot's a pit bull. I know at the G League they've had him guard wings before, not for long stretches, but he seems to have held up fairly well. I'm not saying expect that, but maybe. So if no one else can take a wing and it's got to be Cade and he kind of fails at that spot on defense, it'd be tough. You might be giving up as much as you're scoring. So yes and no is the short answer.
It's I like the comparison with OKC in terms of having multiple ball handlers, and because just to answer the question, like I would start all three to start with. I think you could get creative with the rotation, and like if we're talking opening night, you could start all three, and then at the 8 minute mark, pull Scoot or Ivy or whoever, and you could mix and match it to sort of just keep two guys on the court at all times. It might be a bit tricky, but I think just back to the OKC point, I could see this working offensively. The only thing that concerns me is even though Giddy isn't a plus defender, or I mean, I guess Shea was a really good defender this season, and Williams projects to be one. They're all like bigger than the three guards the Pistons have. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Shea's 6'5", 6'6". So like, and I feel like J Dub's the same, maybe even 6'7". Could be wrong. So they're all the same
And
height or
Giddy's actually
taller.
6'8". Giddy's a big dude.
Yeah, Giddy's massive. I swear he looks bigger than 6'8" sometimes. Like they're all as tall as Cade or taller. So that's the thing that scares me defensively because, like I said, even though Giddy's not a plus defender, he's big, he's huge, he rebounds, he gets in the way. Like just being big's an advantage on defense, whereas the Pistons would be trading out to, I mean, I think Scoot's listed at 6'2". I'm not sure if that's in shoes or what, but then you have Ivy who's 6'4", 6'5", Cade's a 6'6". So that lack of size scares me a bit because I don't mind having, sometimes I think we get a bit obsessed with size and wingspans and all that sort of stuff. But I just think there's a lack of height there. So the defensive side does scare me, but offensively, like, be fun as hell. Like, this is why I'm really high on Amen Thompson because I just want as many ball hand. Like, I just want guys who can create, attack closeouts, creating the pick and roll, like just make the defense's life as hard as possible. With guys who are just going to be relentless in their approach. So, for content purposes as well, like pick 2, like I think we have our draft lottery show in just under a fortnight. If we come out of there with pick 2, man, Pistons Twitter, socials, the conversation is going to be
Going
awesome.
wild.
Yeah. I guess just Blake, who would you take at pick 2, just to put you on the spot here?
Man, yeah, even just going back to this question, I think my mindset for forever, and I'm still holding to it, is if you get number 2, you have to pick Scoot and figure it out. Like, I know Brandon Miller is, pushing up the draft boards, and a lot of people across the league are debating him between Scoot. I don't know. There's just, if I was Troy Weaver, I would not be able to pass on Scoot Henderson if I was with that pick.
Yeah, it's.
Make me answer, Jack.
Well, let's go, Wes. Where's your head at this week?
Yeah, because it does change all the time. It's really close. It is. It's really close, and so I'm leaning Scoot. I am. I think the potential on offense makes it worth trying to figure it out on the other end of the floor. And Brandon Miller, I think he kind of gets the short end of the stick in this debate because, with how Scoot's season kind of progressed and with the fit concerns that he might have in Detroit, a lot of the discussion around Miller hasn't really been about his play. And the whole reason it's really a discussion is because he played so well. It's questionable whether or not he's in the same tier as Scoot. It's not that Scoot came down. It's that Miller's been just trying to break through the ceiling to get up in the same spot. Right. And if they're in the same tier, then now fit's a question. Now you can decide on fit if they're in the same tier of player. But with Miller, the fact that he's not an incredible athlete, and he's got really mobile hips, and I think he can add some strength. But just that athleticism part makes me hold off a little bit on putting him in the same spot, as well as the ball handling. I think it's going to come, but I don't think it'll come right away. So I would be leaning Scoot just because I think it's close, but he's probably the better player at this point.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure if we've discussed this actually on the show, Wes, but I really enjoyed when we were talking sort of offline your theory on the best player available, that because I'm very adamant on best player available, but you made some really good points about sort of the team context and that it's not as simple as just best player available or selecting for fit. So with where the Pistons are at, yes, Scoot's technically, like, there's really valid arguments for either of these guys. And I guess, sorry, just to bring you back in here, Blake, do you have Brandon Miller at 3 on your board right now, or where are you at?
Definitely. And I would say I have him and Scoot like pretty close together. I do just think there's something about Scoot where there's not a player like that in the draft every year. And I would love to take a guy like that and maybe address the wing in via trade or in free agency. I would love to have Brandon Miller on the Pistons. I think either would be great. I just think the explosiveness, the scoring ability, and everything that Scoot brings is hard to pass up on.